What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I wanted to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the different sectors of the stock market, what's going on with data coming out for tomorrow, what you should be watching for in the charts going into tomorrow and beyond. But before I begin the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you guarantee 20 free stocks. This offer ends very soon, in just about 5 days from now. It's been extended for another 5 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, for SPY, we have this downtrend that's being established as far as SPY hit this high at $550 a share before coming back down lower. It's continuing to downtrend, at least as this time goes on. However, I also called out this resistance right here, which is where we had this trend line. I mentioned to everyone that SPY would likely retest this, and I'd be watching to see if we get a rejection or not. I was leaning a bit more in that direction yesterday. I'm willing to admit my mistakes and the fact that I can't always predict everything 100% accurately every single time. But had we rejected off the trend line, yes, we would be looking for a big move back down. And because we broke through this now opens the door for more upside potential if we could get back above 545. So breaking that opens the door for this imbalance to fill all the way up to the low 546s. Then we have 547 as a key resistance. Breaking that opens the door for us to try to push to the all-time high. If you reject off 547, we'll be coming right back down. So those are going to be some key levels. I will break down more context and more information about this over the next couple of minutes. But I first want to talk about this. The market was very, very interesting. So you guys could see the majority of stocks were actually in the red. We saw the market actually get a very, very interesting stance because of all this red that we saw. But the big tech stocks that had more weight, they were the ones that were in the green, and they're the ones that carried this market back up. So for semiconductors, we had Nvda holding up very well. Technology, we had like Microsoft leading the way back up, not to mention Apple. We also had communication services like Google and Meta both pushing up nicely alongside Amazon and Tesla. So the big tech stocks, especially Nvda, led the way for the markets to go back up. That's very, very important. That's why the market ended up moving the way it did, despite the fact that the majority of stocks out there were in the red. Once again, the Nasdaq and S&P 500 have snapped a 3-day slide, basically because of Nvidia rebounding. So very, very good news, at least for now. Moving forward, what do I see for the markets? Just note that for tomorrow, it's going to be Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. At 10 o'clock a.m., we have new home sales. And besides that, at 11:30 a.m., we have some bill auctions. Everything's very minor. I'm not really expecting this to affect the market way too much. So I think there might be a lot of consolidation going into tomorrow too. Right now, fear is making up the majority of sentiment as the market's at a very, very overvalued level. And because it's so overvalued, that's the reason why momentum is still in the greedy phase, because we're still well above our 125 daily moving average. You can see during corrections or even like pullbacks, we do break it. We're actually not even close to that, which shows that the market is once again building this strength. On top of all of this, I just wanted to call out that the puts and call option positioning is currently at extreme greed, as we're still seeing a lot of call buying, and they're the ones who are making up the majority of positions. And then volatility is still neutral as we're kind of in the middle for the VIX. So what do I see for this moving forward? What's my opinion for the stock market? Here are my answers. Starting off with SPY, we want to see this thing break past 545 tomorrow to turn bullish. If that breaks, I'll be watching 545.8 around this range, and also where this imbalance fills around the low 546s. If we break that, 547 is coming next. And then if we break that, we'll turn even more bullish and look for a big push towards the all-time high. 547 is going to be our very, very important level. We did reject here last time we hit this. And then if we end up coming back down, I'll be watching not only the trend line, but also this 543 area. Losing that opens the door for 541, and those are going to be your key levels worth watching. In my personal opinion, one thing worth noting is that we had this trend line right here, this big trend. We kind of rejected here 1, 2, 3 times. We actually got an initial rejection here before we got bought back up. So it was very tricky today. Lots of tricky price action. We got the rejection only to get bought back up. And then because we got bought back up, it shows that the buyers are defending SPY in a very, very meticulous manner, and this is opening the doors for more potential upside. So what do I think is going to happen? Once again, guys, remember my levels. If we lose 544, we'll be looking for a bit of a dip to the 543 area, and if we end up breaking 545, I'll be looking for 546.2 followed by 547. My gut is telling me that this is looking more bullish. I think that this might actually try to push a little higher to fill this imbalance towards 546. But just because we push up, it does not necessarily mean that SPY is going to rally forever, because yesterday SPY pushed up to 547, then rejected and went back down to 542. So, excuse me, who's to say we're not going to do the same thing again? There's no way we could prove it's gonna or not gonna happen again. So that's the reason why you have to be open-minded to anything once we get to these high levels. So anticipate upside. I think the market's gonna go a little bit higher to fill this imbalance, but it's possible we reject off 547 and come right back down to the low 540s. Or if we break that, we could go higher. It all depends on what we end up doing relative to 547. But I anticipate that we're going to get kind of close to it, to at least the 546s tomorrow for a little bit of a push, and then we'll have to see what we do from there. So just be prepared just to be safe. For Nvidia, Nvidia is holding up very, very nicely. It's actually above our 20 EMA. If we hold above 126, this thing is going to continue to go higher. If we lose 126, we're going to be dipping back down to 123. My guts tells me this is going to go up towards 130, and we'll see if we reject there or not. But I think it's going to go a little bit higher. I think that 130 is on the table. This is going to help the market push higher. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin is also looking a little bit more bullish. If we break past the 20 EMA at around 62,000, we'll be looking for a move all the way up here towards 63,000. If we reject here, we'll be coming back down towards 61,000. Bitcoin looks like it's trying to rebound temporarily towards 63,000. It's the most likely possibility. Tesla is looking a little bit more bullish to me. If you zoom out, I mean, we have a very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders. We've been calling this out for quite some time. And I think we're eventually going to be running into the 200s for Tesla. This chart looks very bullish to me, especially as we approach deliveries. So I think that Tesla has upside potential. We have a nice bullish wedge forming. I think Tesla's going to be retesting this 190 area very soon. We're going to consolidate a bit and eventually break out to the 200s over the next few weeks. So I see 190 going into tomorrow, and then we'll see what it does from there. But it looks more bullish for me. For the QQQ, this is also looking a bit more bullish. We actually broke past our 20 EMA. I was predicting yesterday that this would actually touch the 20 EMA and then maybe reject. But instead of rejecting, we actually continued to break through it. So that's a very, very ironic considering the fact that the market was selling off for like 3 straight days. So yes, you could argue we're due for this little bounce, but does this mean we're going to new highs? That's not a guarantee. So what could be happening is the QQQ is going to hold above this 479 support at the 20 EMA. We're going to break through this and retest 480. If that breaks, we'll look at 482 and we'll watch to see if we get a rejection or not. I think that 480 and 482 will be retested. If we reject off 482, we'll be dipping back down towards the 470s, the very, very mid 470s. If we break past 482, we're going up to 484. So make sure you watch those levels very carefully. We'll just have to see how this ends up performing, at least over there. But I nonetheless anticipate some more upside. That's a very, very strong possibility. That's going to be very important for how we continue to move. So for the QQQ, anticipate some upside for 480. If that breaks, look at 482. I think we could be testing that, and we'll see if we get a rejection there or not. But I'm looking for a little bit more upside. Aapl is still kind of range bound. We have 210 as resistance alongside 212, and we have support at 207. As of right now, for the last 3 days, we've been range bound between 212 and 207, going back and forth and back and forth. To me, it looks like it might dip a little bit towards 208 and try to rebound to 210. So a little dip and then a bounce is the most likely possibility. And we'll see how things go from here. I think that that's going to be very important for Aapl. So I'm going to be very patient, and then we'll have to see how things develop from here. But look for a little dip and a bounce is the most likely possibility. For a few more tickers, I also want to call out at least the rest of these. So for Palantir got a nice bounce. We were talking about this yesterday. I anticipate it's going to go up towards 25. I don't think it's done just yet. So look for 25 tomorrow as the most likely possibility. For Supermicro, not looking too good. It is trying to rebound a bit, but we have this resistance at 855, also at 866. We could go a little higher towards 860. In this 860 area, if we reject here, we'll be dipping back down towards 831. And if we break through this, you'll be looking for 880 and then eventually 900. So look for a little rebound and then a rejection is the most likely possibility. I think that that's what Supermicro is most likely going to end up doing. But look for this little push as a strong possibility first. I think we might push a little higher towards 860 and then possibly reject after that. I think we're going to be making a move back down to 780 to fill this imbalance. A bounce and a drop is the most likely possibility for Supermicro, unless we end up breaking past 880. For Rivian, we got a big bounce right over here after bullish news has come out. So it's going to gap up tomorrow. We're going to be looking for a test of much higher levels. And you guys can see we're finally making some steam. So right here, I think with this, we could retest 16.86, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. So tomorrow, look for 16.86 to be retested, and we'll see how it ends up reacting. For SoFi, we came up just a bit towards 6.6 and came short. We're still holding up very, very well, forming a nice rebound potential. We have a 6.46 as resistance. We're kind of testing that. If we break that, I'll be looking for 6.6. If we lose this, we'll be dipping all the way down towards basically 6.4 and eventually 6.3. So I think that this could drop a little bit more towards 6.4, then try to rebound, and we'll have to see how things go from here. Look for a little bit more downside on SoFi. A lot of finance stocks in that sector are actually dipping a bit. So look for a little bit of a dip. I think it might be dipping all the way down here to this key fib level. Let me just show you where that is. I think our 0.786 retracement can be retested right here before it tries to bounce. So look for this test right here towards 6.34, then a bounce after that. I'll be watching that very, very carefully, 6.3 around that range. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're showing a little bit of weakness. We're kind of shuffling right here around 200. I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation tomorrow. I think tomorrow it's going to just retest right over here around 199, make its way back up to 201, and just trade sideways for the most part, not really do a whole lot, because right now it's just kind of choppy. Same thing with AMD, we're just kind of choppy around this 160 area. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Price action. If we break past 160.6, I'll be looking for 162. If we end up projecting, we'll be tipping back down towards 158. My gut tells me it's going to continue to remain choppy, maybe tip a little bit towards 158, but see a lot of sideways choppy price action. That's what I anticipate for tomorrow. For ARM, we're looking a little bit more bullish. If we can break past resistance right here at this imbalance at 162.5, I'll be looking for a push this imbalance towards 167. So I think the odds favor a little bit more of a push, at least for ARM. So it's looking pretty good right now on the 4-hour time frame. Coinbase looks a bit more bullish to me. I think we're going to fill this gap up to 225 and then retest 226, which is where our 20 EMA is going to be. So I anticipate a little bit more upside. For Amazon, we're kind of dipping a bit. I think we're going to be retesting 186. If we lose this, we'll be looking at 185. So I see this liquidity being grabbed here, so it might actually come down just a little bit, then maybe try to bounce off 185. So watch for that very carefully. Meta is holding up very well. Can we hold 510 is going to be the question for tomorrow. If we fail to hold this, we're retracing to 505. If we do hold this, we'll be looking at 515. It looks like it might try to go up to 515, then reject and consolidate. That seems very probable. But just to be safe, watch and see how it reacts to 510. For Microsoft, we're looking at, like, we're trying to push higher, but resistance is pretty tough around this 450 area. If we see a little retracement, we could actually retest 448 and then try to bounce off that again. If we hold above 450, we'll be looking at 452. My guts tells me it's going to dip just a bit, either to 450. We'll see if that holds or not. If not, it'll be 448, and then a big bounce will come again, once again, towards the all-time high. So look for a retracement towards 450 flat. We could bounce off that and continue to push for 452. Or if we don't hold 450, we'll dip to 448 and then get the bounce. That looks very probable on the 4-hour time frame. Google's broken past 184's resistance, so it's getting a nice breakout right here. There's no sign of this getting stopped quite yet, so it might continue to hold up. Watch a test of 186 tomorrow, see how we end up breaking out. There's no sign of it rejecting, so be careful, but resistance will be tough up there. Make sure you're a little bit careful for Google. GameStop is showing some life. If we could try to hold above 24.6, I'm going to be looking for a push for 25.9 tomorrow. For AMC, if we end up breaking past resistance right here around 4.5, I'll be looking at 4.65 as resistance next. So that has a lot more potential too. The VIX of all things is actually looking a little bit more bearish. We're starting to dip a bit, and I think that with the 4-hour bearish cross on the PPO, we could easily see this thing dip all the way down towards 12.6 because the market has a bit more upside potential. For the 10-year treasury yield, this is still flat right now, not really moving much. It's not really affecting the markets, but the dollar of all things is starting to show weakness too. The dollar, if we end up losing 105.57, we're going to be dipping down to 105.4. That's going to lead to a little bit of downside, so we'll see how that ends up going. So in my personal opinion, I think that the market has a bit more upside coming into tomorrow as we're trying to break structure. We could be looking for a little push upon open, but just know that this does not guarantee the market's going to pump forever. It could just be a little push to a lower high we make relative to the all-time high. So SPY could go all the way up to like 446 to 447, or I'm sorry, 546 to 547, and then possibly reject off that. So we'll see how it goes. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. I'll probably make this video very short, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Have a great day, guys, and peace out.